Section 37 of Uncle Josh's Punkin Center Stories by Cal Stewart. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Philip Martin. Uncle Josh Weathersby's Trip to Boston. For a long time I had my mind made up to go down to Boston, so a short time ago, as I had all my crops and produce mostly sold, I allowed it would be a good time to go down there, and I said to Mother, I'll start early in the morning and take a load of produce with me, and that will sort of pay expenses for the trip. Well, I got into Boston next morning bright and early, about time they had their breakfast, and I looked round for a spell. Then finally I picked out a right likely looking store, and I just concluded I'd sell my load of produce there. Well, I went in and I met a feller, and I said, "Good morning, be you the storekeeper?" And he said, "No, sir, I'm only one of the clerks." So I said, "Well, be the storekeeper at home?" And he said, "Yes, sir, would you like to see him?" And I told him as how I would, and he turned round and commenced to hollerin', "Front!" And a boy come up what had more brass buttons on him than a whole regiment of soldiers. I thought that was a darn funny name for a boy, Front, and that clerk feller, he was about the most important thing I'd seen in Boston so far, lest maybe it was the Bunker Hill Monument that I druv past comin' to town. He had on a biled collar that sort of put me in mind of the whitewashed fence round the fairgrounds down home. I'll bet if he ever sneezed it would cut his ears off. Well, anyhow, he said to that front boy, "Show the gentleman to the proprietor's office." Well, I went along with that boy, and presently we come to a place in one corner of that store. It was made out of iron and had bars in front of the windows and looked like the county jail. The front boy pinted to a man and said, "Go in," and I said I guess I wouldn't go in there, 'cause I hadn't done anything to be locked up for. And that front boy commenced to laughin', though derned if I could see what he was a-laughin' about. And the storekeeper, he opened the door and come out, and he said, "Good morning, what can I do for you?" I said, "Be you the storekeeper?" And he said he was. So I said, "Do you want to buy any pertaters?" And he said, "No, sir, we don't buy any pertaters here. This is a dry goods store." So I said, "Well, don't you want any cabbage, do you?" And he said, "No, sir, this is a dry goods store." So I said, "Well, now, I want to know, do you need any onions?" And by chowder, he got madder'n a wet hen. He said, "Now, look a-here. I want you to understand onct for all, this is a dry goods store, and we don't buy anything but dry goods, and don't sell anything but dry goods. Do you understand me now? Dry goods." And I said, "Yes, guess I understand you. You don't need to get so tarnally riled about the matter. Near's I can figure it out, you just buy dry goods and sell 'em." And he said, "Yes, sir, only dry goods." So I said, "Well, do you want to buy some mighty good dried apples?" Well, that front boy got to laughin', and a lot of women clerks giggled right out, and the storekeeper, he commenced to laughin' too, and for about a minute I thought they'd all went crazy at once. Well, he told the feller to show me where I could sell my produce, and I disposed of it at a good bargain. I like them Boston folks. They try to make you feel to home and enjoy yourself and be sociable, and I was chuck full of sociability too. I was going up one street and down t'other just a getting sociability at 10 cents a sociable. Well, I guess I seen about everything worth seeing in Boston, and I was a-standing alongside of one of their old churches a-looking at the cemetery, and I guess there was folks in there buried nigh unto 300 years. And I was just a-thinking what they'd say if they could wake up and see Boston now, when I noticed a little row of tombstones, and on one of them it said Hester Brown, beloved wife of James Brown, and on another it said Prudence Brown, beloved wife of James Brown, and on another it said Thankful Brown, beloved wife of James Brown. Well, I couldn't just make out what she had to be thankful about, but I said, "Jimmy, you had a right lively time while you was in Boston, didn't you?" Then I seen another tombstone, and on it said Matilda Brown, beloved wife of James Brown, and another one what said Sarah Ann Brown, beloved wife of James Brown. And over in a little corner all to itself I seen a tombstone, and on it said, "James Brown at rest." End of Uncle Josh Weathersby's trip to Boston.